Hello, dear students in grade 6. Today we are going to explain lesson 5 in the concept 2.2, which talks mainly about the thermal energy. But our lesson today is completely different. As we can see in the board that a boy is sliding over a slide. So today our lesson talks about the conversion of energy between different types from one form to another, and is there any wasted energy here? Let's see. If you are riding a bike, then there you will actually store a potential energy inside your body. First you eat, right? So you store the energy. Which type of energy? Chemical energy. We can say chemical potential energy. Then when you started to move, or even on the bicycle, the potential energy inside your body started to change into the kinetic energy. But when we look at the bicycle tire and the road, or even the car tire and the road, also there is a friction force between them. So some of the kinetic energy changes into the thermal energy. So we can say here that the thermal energy is considered as the wasted energy. If we want to apply this conversion on the marble, which our lesson today, its title is How Can We Design a Marble? If you are going to design a marble, or imagine that you have designing a marble and you put it at the top of the track, because it's in the highest point, so it stores more potential energy, the most potential energy is stored in it because it's in the highest point. But when you push it down, it started to move along the track, and some of the potential energy changes into, excellent, as we said before, into the kinetic energy. But after a while, it cannot reach to the end of the track. Why? Because there is a friction force here happen between the body of the marble and also the track, which means that some of the kinetic energy changes into the thermal energy as the wasted one. So if you are riding a bike, or even the car inside on the road, you must store potential energy because you are in a height, right? So after a while, when you started to move, some of the potential energy, or we can say the potential energy, changes into the kinetic energy, and some of the kinetic energy, due to the friction force between the bicycle tire or even the car tire in the road, will change into the thermal energy as the wasted one. Okay, if I replace, or if we replace the small marble here by another one which is large, what will happen? Of course, the same will happen. The potential energy changes into the kinetic energy, and then some of the kinetic energy changes into the thermal energy at the wasted one. But what is the difference here? The completely difference here between the small marble and the large marble, the amount of the energy that is stored in it, and also the amount of energy that changes to it. If I replace the small marble by another one, which is the large marble, so it will store more potential energy and changes into more kinetic energy. And also don't forget that there is a friction force between the marble and the track, so will be a thermal energy as the wasted one here. So today at grade 6 we talked about what? We talked about the designing a marble, and what actually happened in the conversion of energy between the potential energy, kinetic energy, and also the thermal energy at the wasted one. Let's answer some questions in the booklet as we always do. Here I have the first question, which is what happens? If I ask you what happens if the stored energy of a stopped object when it moves on a slide, what will happen to the stored energy? First, I have to ask myself, what is the stored energy in the object? Of course, the potential energy. What will happen to the stored potential energy? It will change into kinetic energy. So the guided answer here, the potential energy, which is the stored one, will change into the kinetic energy. Excellent, grade 6. The second question that we have, what happens to the speed of a moving object when it's heated by friction? At first, its speed will decrease gradually until it stops. I cannot say that it will stop suddenly. If even in this case I have an accident and the airbags will be inflated. No, I didn't talk about this. Now I'm talking about what? I'm talking about the speed of a moving object. What will happen to it if it's heated by the friction? We know because the friction force happens between the object that moves and the root, so some of the kinetic energy changes into thermal energy. So what will happen to its speed at first? The guided answer here will be, I have to say that the speed will decrease gradually until it stops. This is the guided answer for this question. So today in grade 6 we talked about what? We talked about concept 2.2 lesson 5, which talks mainly about how can we design a marble and what actually happens between the conversion of energy from potential or even the stored energy into the kinetic energy, and what is the wasted energy, and how can we answer some questions like what happens or give reason in this lesson, as we always do. Thank you for your listening. I wish you a good day. Bye bye.